Black Lives Matter. Of course. Unless you're hearing a negative semantic of lives matter. If that's the case, hopefully no lives matter. Whatever that semantic would mean. Sounds like a nightmare. That's besides the point. Compared to what the organization of Black Lives Matter is trying to say, the counter-protesting statement, all lives matter, is not a relevant response. But I believe we can approach this negative-looking scenario with fatherly and motherly enthusiastic creativity. Creativity can always be used as a means of peace. I believe a new, more culturally moral and responsible perspective of citizenship, besides mere documentation, would be a more relevant discussion and response to the organization of Black Lives Matter than All Lives Matter. I'll explain why. We can call it Moral Citizenship Matters, and it can begin with us and faith in our own action. A new, more culturally moral perspective of citizenship, besides mere documentation, is more than possible, and it has been needed much longer than the organization of Black Lives Matter has existed. Citizenship being just a mere document would be worthless and embarrassing towards citizenship if we take back that term and make it meaningful, about a responsible code, about a moral code of conduct with each other and with emotions as well, with emotional understanding. The word civilian is almost the most offensive term in the English language. We are citizens when we take back that word, not civilians. One second. So let's take back the word citizen, and let's take back citizenship, and let's make it something meaningful. Because what's more embarrassing than the question, what is your citizenship? And citizenship being just a document. Ever since inner city violence changed from being about starvation to being about getting experimented on with heavy drugs, we have not yet taken back culture and made it a safe place, with fatherly and motherly enthusiastic creativity, with a moral code that unites us, with understandings about policing ourselves and each other as well as having the police by our side, so that we may also school the police about how we can do this as well, but not abolish them, or we would have no one to school, with understandings of fair citizens' quarrels, and we can vote on what those are. To be a citizen should be to have a moral responsibility to keep morality and remorse alive within the organization that they are a citizen of, even if it's some kind of hybrid alien humanoid slave race. And I'm, of course, referring to fair citizen squirrels as well as real understandings of emotional health. So that police officers aren't trained to break the use of force continuum, or a citizen's use of force continuum, that we can all vote on as well. So that police aren't trained to attempt to be the more emotionally dominant thing in any given scenario. So that we may police ourselves and each other as well. And we can show the police that we can do this ourselves too. As to bring back word of mouth and to bring forth understandings of fair citizens' quarrels and to vote on what those are. To get our expletive deleted together one step at a time. To enjoy our progress. I hope, I hope, I hope you mother expletive deleteds can get your expletive deleted together one step at a time. I really do. And have not only faith in your own action, but in creativity always being able to be used as a means of peace as well. So let's start at square one of this hopscotch. And let's outline a few things. Let's start with a recap before continuing. Let's start with a technical recap before we continue. A new culturally moral perspective of citizenship besides mere documentation so that police officers aren't trained to break the use of force continuum or attempt to be the more emotionally dominant thing in any given scenario would include, but not be limited to, bringing back word of mouth while bringing forth understandings of fair citizens' quarrels within our American culture, responding to the first argument, the one that says Black Lives Matter. They're actually saying inner city people's lives matter too. It's just an accurate stereotype that black people were shoved into inner cities. I'm sorry, but you do deserve to feel your own progress. And I have some ideas for you. Um, This is so that we may police ourselves and each other, and we can show the police that we can do this ourselves as well. To also take back citizenship and have it mean to have a moral responsibility to keep morality and remorse alive within what we are a citizen of. And we can update the systematic court language with our own emotional health understandings as well, about a citizen's use of force continuum, about emotional health understanding. Uh, of course, we would vote on what fair citizen squirrels look like, as well as self-control and intervention within them as well. I believe we should have moral citizenship class during or after high school after we figure this out. Potentially right after the emotional algebra class. Um, Maybe someday as well. Maybe someday we'll all peacefully march to our current county schooling systems and tell them that we want that as the citizens, we want this book taught somewhere, maybe English class, but honestly, I'm thinking of something during or after high school with a nurturing emotional algebra class and a moral citizenship matters class that knows fair citizen squirrels, atmospheric pressure of blows, and a lot about the difference between original emotional trauma and withdrawals from heavy drugs, so we can fix this expletive deleted already. Um, Natural, remorseful, and therefore naturally sober and remorseful minded people, you can help them feel listened to. Those people who've done that heavy drug implicant that is kind of pushed onto them in culture, they help each other feel listened to by like beating each other up and stuff. And that's just so we have to understand our kinds of people and stuff and all this crazy shit. But here are my thoughts to begin this topic. We'll look at these and I'll ask questions and we'll vote on these matters. 15 million of us voters, or however many ever there are. I can make an NING network, which is like a build your own Facebook with the reason behind it. Um, I just might have to start a nonprofit organization for it. Or somebody can do this. Somebody can accomplish something. Don't hit a man in a defensive position. Don't allow a man to hit a man in a defensive position. In this statement, a man is a man, woman, or child, a fellow human being and citizen. And this is one of the first statements that will be said when we begin understandings of fair citizens' quarrels. Citizens will continuously remind each other, don't hit a man in a defensive position. And this might momentarily become one of the first main things citizens yell as we first learn this process with collective self-control. Don't hit a man in a defensive position as we intervene if they do, no matter what side we're on. It's most important to school the government and to know that there is not the winner's story. There is no his story. In other words, you can run out of energy while street fighting training because there's an atmospheric pressure to the fair citizens' quarrels, and it's medium, not attempting. It's called training. This is important, so it's being said again. Um, so it doesn't matter who runs out of energy first. Neither person is correct ideologically. Um, but whatever. This is important, so it's being said again. Keep things street fighting style. Don't hit a man in a defensive position. If he or she is on the ground, you cannot strike or hit them. It doesn't matter if they're playing a Mortal Kombat joke and rolling around on the ground while saying that they were trying to fight you. If they're on the ground, you can't hit them. Humor can also de-escalate a scenario. Fellow human beings and citizens will intervene if people do hit a man in a defensive position. Now we have to talk about how people can intervene. Due to this, pitting while public wrestling must be registered procedurally and governmentally. You're allowed to wrestle and train, but if he's on the ground, if he or she is on the ground, for a second, you have to get off of him or her immediately and stand back up. If he or she does not come back at you, you may no longer continue. Their citizen squirrels may look like training and more like street fighting than wrestling. This is also because we monitor self-control. Fair citizen squirrels require consent. Even then, creativity can always be used as a means of peace. And I bet we would rarely have to consent to a fair citizen squirrel understanding that creativity can always be used as a means of peace. So what's a lack of self-control look like within a fair citizen's quarrel, and what does multiple citizens apprehending someone look like while the police arrive? Let's look through a few more things. When apprehending, we must remind fellow human beings and citizens that this is not to feel gratified. We're not trying to feel gratified while apprehending you. This is happening because you hit a man in a defensive position or showed no training or self-control with the atmospheric pressure of your blows. He said you broke the atmospheric pressure of the fair citizens quarrel, so you're being apprehended until the police arrive because you did not stop. Potential arrest understanding would potentially want to have the Miranda rights memorized for when the police arrive. Might want to make a citizen's momentarily apprehension Miranda rights statement in progress. If so, outstanding, fantastic. Um, Remember to question society is to question oneself. We must question ourselves to question society. So be a positive influence, soul figure. Moral citizenship matters. Moral citizenship matters. This is as much as I have right now. Have any thoughts?